That's far enough, Mr. Williams.
Miss Sager.
Mrs. Sager.
Mrs. Sager. Would you please put that rifle down? I came here without any guns, without any means of force whatsoever.
You come here with force.
Now, Mrs. Sager...
Come here to force me out of my house, off my land.
Mrs. Sager, please...
Nobody shoves me off of my land, Mr. Williams. Nobody. This land is mine. It's free and clear, every inch of it.
I've no doubt...
My husband staked this land 25 years ago. He homesteaded it and raised cattle on it every year till he died. Every year till he died, he raised cattle on this land.
I have every respect for you.
And nobody takes me off this land, Mr. Williams, you or your filthy railroad or anybody else. My husband left me this land, and he said, Libby, this is your land, and you keep it. I said, Howard, I swear by everything decent, nobody'll ever take this land away from me. A solemn and a holy oath, Mr. Williams, to a dying man.
Mrs. Sager, now, listen to me for just a minute.
Well, I know what you're going to say.
Just a minute. 1 minute, Mrs. Sager.
Said it 100 times if you said it once.
Please, Mrs. Sager, just 1 minute.
Well, go on, talk then. Talk and get it over with. 1 minute.
1 minute.
That's right.
I represent the railroad.
I know that.
And we have reserved from the United States government a right-of-way of land across the United States for our railroad, Transcontinental Railroad, Mrs. Sager, Transcontinental. The United States government...
United States government, I heard you. What do you want to do, scare me or something?
Transcontinental, it's progress, Mrs. Sager. You can't hold back the time.
That's what you always say. You can't hold
Your
back
land. Your land, Mrs. Sager, is directly in the right-of-way. Now, we're willing, more than willing, we're happy to pay you 3 times the worth of this land.
I said I wouldn't sell, Mr. Williams. How many times I got to repeat it?
It's not a matter of... Mrs. Sager, please, I wish you'd lower that carbine. It's making me nervous.
I noticed you shaking. The minute's almost up.
The point is, you've got to sell. You're on public land to be reconverted. Now, we sent you a check and a notice to get off the land. No, not us. The United States government. That makes it mandatory, compulsory.
It's a free country.
Progress, Mrs. Sager, for the common good.
It's a free country. I can live where I want, and this is where I'm living. And let me tell you something, Mr. Williams. I'm staying right here. You could have orders from the president. I'm just as good a citizen as he is. Now, you just scoot off on this property.
I'd hate to have to call the United States Marshal. Now, Mrs. Sager, I don't like to use force when reason will do.
Get off this property, Mr. Williams, or I'm going to remember the United States government has a law about trespassing. Did you hear me? Scoot.
You can't hold back the times. That's what I told her, Marshal. She held that rifle on me every second. It seems funny to you, I suppose.
No, I didn't mean to laugh at you, Mr. Williams, but... Well, Libby Sager's quite a woman. I've known her a long time. I knew her husband.
Anybody could be married to that.
Now, what you've got to understand about Libby is, Mr. Williams, that Libby isn't an ordinary woman.
That's sure.
No, Libby is... Well, she's kind of like the West. I mean by that, she's got her ways, and her ways are free, and she's hard to tame.
Well, I'll tell you this, Marshal. In the railroad business, when we come to a mountain, if we can't go around it, we blast right through it.
Yeah, well, I'm not so sure I'd try that with Libby if I were...
Marshal, I've tried talking to her. I've sent her letters. I've tried everything. There's no moving.
Yeah, I know. But you've got to keep in mind that Libby's lived there for almost a quarter of a century.
I've got a job to do.
Look, Can't you go around her land?
Oh, fine. A straight line track for a few hundred miles, then all of a sudden it juts out for a few little acres, and then back to another straight line for another 100 miles.
I would break it up a little, wouldn't it?
Marshal, I want you to get out there with this order. It's an order to vacate. Every time we send her a check, she sends it right back. So here's a check to go with the order.
Look, Mr. Williams, she's not going to move. I know that woman, and she's not going to move.
That's a United States government order, and you're the United States Marshal.
Oh, please, Mr. Williams, don't remind me of my duties. There's some things I don't like about this job. Eviction and seizure. Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Eviction. Federal order.
Libby Sager, yes, sir.
You weren't listening at the door, were you, Chester?
Oh, no, sir. My, absolutely not, Mr. Dillon. It's just I am cursed with wonderful ears. Comes from so many nights out hunting. Why, my whole family got ears.
All right, Chester.
Mr. Dillon, isn't there some way the railroad can go around that property? I purely hate to see that woman.
He's made me a villain when I'm just doing my job.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Williams, I guess we all feel a little like that right now. Come on, Chester.
Listen, this here...
Now hold it, Libby.
Saw you through the curtains.
Well, I saw you peeking.
Coward little railroad has to bring the marshal.
Mr. Williams
I
asked
had
me
to, Mrs. Sager. I told you before that...
Hot-bellied little railroad had to get the marshal.
Now, Libby... Libby, I want you to put that carbine down, and I want you to act like a human being. Huh?
Don't you start anything with me, that kind of talk. Now, Matt Dillon, I knew you too long for that kind of talk.
Libby, what would Howard have said if he could see you standing there holding a carbine on me?
You can say what you got to say right here and right now. Just leave my poor dead husband out of this.
You think he'd stand in the way of progress the way you are?
Progress? That big, loud, steaming, dirty thing a-howling by, black smoke, bringing in the trash from back east? You call that progress?
I'll make a deal with you, Libby. You put down your gun, and I'll send Mr. Williams and Chester back to town, huh?
I got nothing to say to you, Marshal.
Chester?
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Here, take my gun, Chester. And this.
What are you doing, Mr. Dillon? You took off your star.
I'll take it back to the office with you, and take Mr. Williams with you, too. Libby and I are going to talk.
Yes, sir. Come on, Mr. Williams.
You can't hold back the times, Mrs. Sager.
Get him off here,
You better go, Mr. Williams.
I'll see you back in town, Marshal.
Well, Libby, aren't you going to ask me in?
I told you, Marshal.
The name's still Matt, Libby. No star. See? Now can I come in?
Well, I suppose.
Thank you. Looks just about the same.
Yeah, it's going to stay that way. Nothing's going to come steaming through this sitting room. Sit down, Matt.
Libby, I'd give anything not to have to give you this order, but... Here.
Well, Howard took me out here to this piece of land. He staked it out here because it had a creek for the cattle and some good grassland. We just got married. Took me out here and stood me right about where you're standing now. And he said, Libby, this is ours. Yours and mine.
Uh-huh.
He built this place, Matt. Every board he split with his own hands. Every board of it, every nail in it.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know. 3 days and 3 nights, just the two of us, behind that upsot wagon, caught out there in the attack. Oh, they'd have burned the house down. But we held them off. All of them Indians, a-hooping and a-hollering. Wasn't until the second day they got him.
Yeah.
Oh, that arrow must have been terrible inside him. It was like something in my own chest, man, I swear. It couldn't have hurt no more. I held him in my arms. I was crying. I couldn't help it. And he looked like a little boy. I swear it seemed like he wasn't a man anymore. He's just a little boy in my arms there. He said, Libby, you gotta hang on to the land, Libby. It's all there is. I said, I know it, Howard. He said, don't let nobody drive you off here. I said, Howard, I won't. And I didn't. I stayed there, no food, no water. 2 days more. Still waiting. But they'd gone. And the place was still mine.
Libby.
Now, do you think I'm going to get off of this land now? Just because of a little piece of paper? Matt, you go on back. Tell that railroad I'm here for good. Dead or alive. Next time, you better keep your guns.
Marshal? What'd she say, Marshal? Talk didn't do any good, did it? I knew it wouldn't.
Mr. Williams, you did your job. Now, why don't you go back to the hotel and we'll get in touch with you, huh?
Sure. Marshal.
Yeah.
You sure you don't need me for anything?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Well, hello, Mr. Williams.
Hello, Chester.
Where's he going, Mr. Dillon?
I sent him back to the hotel, Chester. Hand me that chamois there, will you?
Yes, sir. Here.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Dillon?
What?
If she don't leave peaceable, you gonna carry her out?
Well, we'll see what happens, Chester.
I mean, if she don't come out peaceable.
Look, Chester, that railroad's going to be here for a long time. A long time. Now, there are going to be a lot of people dependent on it for beef and for everything else. And Libby's just one person. Just one person.
One person, yes, sir.
That's right.
That's right, Mr. Dillon. Mr. Dillon, I've never seen you like this before.
Chester, I can't do it.
All right. You gave her 10 days to give you an answer, Mr. Dillon. And the order come down almost a month ago. You did everything you could. If you asked me, You oughtn't to feel bad. You just got to do it, that's all.
Never hurt anybody. Paid all her bills. Now we got to run her off her land.
Well, it wasn't nobody's fault that Howard Sager homesteaded on what was going to be a railroad track. Wasn't his fault, nor her fault, nor your fault. Wasn't even the railroad's fault.
I know you're right, Chester. You're right.
And Mr. Dillon, she'll have enough money she can live anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Sure. Anywhere except where she really wants to live.
Well,
Yeah, I know, Chester. Well, it's almost 10:30. We gave her till noon today. I guess we better get packing.
Guess we better.
Oh, fella, bro.
Oh. Well, sir. Here's the gate.
Go ahead, Chester.
After you, Mr. Dillon.
Matt Dillon?
Oh,
There she is, Mr. Dillon, on the porch. She's got her carbine.
yeah, I see her.
Get off my property.
Libby! Now, we gave you plenty of notice.
Get off my property, Marshal, or I'll shoot. Now, you know me, Matt. I don't just talk.
Libby, you got your check. Now, why don't you...
I'm counting three. You're not starting off this land by the count of three. I'm going to shoot. I swear it, Matt. You're a perfect target now. I'm warning you.
Libby,
One,
why...
2, 3.
Come on, Mr. Dillon. That big rock over there.
Way over our heads.
Yeah, she meant it that way.
Makes me feel a little silly running cover from a woman.
I got a decent respect for Libby's eye, Chester.
Well, what do we do, Mr. Dillon?
Well,
We can't just stay here forever.
look. Maybe we can sneak up from the other side. You think you could work your way around?
I imagine so.
All right. And Chester.
Now, don't worry, Mr. Dillon. I'm not going to use no gun.
All right. If you can get in the house and get that rifle away from her, I'll just stay out here and try to keep her attention.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good luck. Libby!
I'm going to shoot to kill, Matt. Next man tries to get me out of here, shoot to kill.
Hot.
That's right, Sam.
Here's to you, Williams.
Sure.
I must be getting drunk. Even this stuff tastes good.
Sam,
I can't help admire that woman. But then I'm always the one to boost the underdog.
we got to start construction on the 18th to keep the schedule. You haven't even had a chance to start surveying.
One woman standing alone against a whole mess of us.
Spikes, crew, rail,
It's inspiring.
ties all creosoted. I'll get bounced, sure.
Let me tell you, Williams, she's one out of a million.
Quite a woman.
Quite a woman.
Yeah.
I said then, and I say right now, nobody takes that woman off her land alive. Nobody. She's got more real stuff in her than you and me put together.
You're drunk.
Hanging on to the last breath. Why, it's wonderful.
Woman like that can't hold back the progress of a whole nation.
Absolutely not.
Nobody can hold back the time.
Time and tide wait for no man.
If everybody felt like her, there wouldn't be any railroads. There wouldn't be any progress whatsoever.
You need a drink.
Maybe I do. Sam? I don't think that marshal's doing a thing out there.
Minion of the law.
Strikes me as sentimental, that marshal.
Oh, I don't know.
Point is, there's a job to do. I think we ought to go out there and prod him.
Well, you said he told you to stay in the hotel room.
I know.
No, that's what you said.
Well,
if you want to go down there, it's fine with me, but that's what you told me he said.
Well, how does it look, the railroad representative taking the afternoon off at a time like this, huh? Hand me my holster.
Huh? Well, what do you want guns for?
I'll tell you what I think. I think the woman's a little demented holding herself up that way. Her husband's death, years alone in that house. She's crazy.
Fanatic.
Yeah.
Here.
Thanks. Fully loaded.
She's a wonderful woman, though.
Dead shot with that rifle of hers. I'm not going out there unprotected.
I don't blame you a bit. I think I'll take my holster, too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
What?
One for the road, huh?
No more.
One for Libby? Oh, what do you say?
All right. One for Libby. To Libby Sager.
The spirit of the Old West.
Right.
Hey, you know they'll write a song about her? How the track was built over her soul? And they'll write a song about us, too.
Oh, stop it. You're drunk. How's it going, Marshal?
Didn't I tell you to stay back at the hotel?
I brought Sam with me. Thought maybe you could use some help. Sam,
huh? Hello, Marshal.
You don't mind if we just stick around, do you?
Well, stay back and keep quiet.
Where's your friend?
Trying to sneak in the back. Only trouble
Marshal?
Right here, Libby.
I got my eye on that sidekick of yours. You either call him back or I'm going to have to shoot him.
Chester!
Oh, coming, Mr. Dillon.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dillon.
No, it's all right, Chester. It just didn't work, that's all.
I declare I can't figure how she spotted me. You don't know how careful
Yeah, I
was
know.
walking.
Looks like there's only one thing to do. Let's go in after her.
Now you're talking.
Fine.
Now, you two just stay right where you are, and no guns, you understand?
Sure.
Libby! Libby, we're coming in! Now put your carbine up, Libby.
Come on, Marshal, just come on. I'm ready.
Now, let's go, Chester, and stay close to the ground.
We can weave over to that rock over there, then behind the barn, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Close, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, all right, run. You all right, Chester?
Just scared, that's all.
Why, that crazy fool.
What's the matter, Mr. Dillon?
That surveyor. Sam, leave that rifle alone.
I'm just covering for you, Marshal.
She hit him, Mr. Dillon.
Oh, he's going to shoot back. Sam!
Mr. Dillon. He got her, Mr. Dillon.
Come on, Chester. Libby?
A good shot, Marshal.
It wasn't him, Miss Sager.
Lift up her head, Chester.
It's better this way. Matt, much better this way.
Marshal? Oh, I didn't mean to, Marshal.
I told you to put up that gun.
I was trying to cover for you. When she got me in my shoulder, I didn't think. I just...
Matt.
You just lay quiet, Libby. We'll send for the doc.
Now you let me be. Say, Matt.
Yeah, Libby.
Matt, I bet you people don't forget me so easy.
They won't, Libby.
You know, Matt, I'll bet they'll remember me every time.
Yeah. Every time that train whistle blows.
My gracious.
You know, Chester, sometimes progress is hard to come by.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Chester, do you have to do that? You're just stirring up a lot of dust.
Well, cleanliness is next to godliness, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, I know, Chester, but all you're doing is getting it off the floor into the air. Man can hardly breathe in here.
All right, Mr. Dillon. I'll do my sweeping later.
Yeah, good.
My mother taught me that, Mr. Dillon.
Taught you what, Chester?
That cleanliness is next to godliness. She was a fine woman, too.
Oh, look, Chester, it's a good saying, and it's probably true, and I got nothing against your mother, except that she also should have taught you how to sweep.
Well, maybe she just didn't have the time, Mr. Dillon. You see, there was an awful lot of us, and what with chores and...
Oh, hello, Doc.
Come on, I'll buy you a drink.
What?
Doc said he'd buy you a drink, Mr. Dillon.
He really said that?
You coming?
Doc, you got to quit throwing your money around the way you do.
Maybe you don't need a drink.
No, wait a minute, Doc. I'm with you. I'll tell you all about it when I get back, Chester.
I'd be mighty interested, Mr. Dillon.
Oh, sure be glad when it gets winter again.
Why, Doc? You'll just complain about the cold, then.
I suppose. You go sit with Kitty, Matt. I'll bring a bottle of Irish over.
Okay, Doc. Hello, Kitty.
Hello, Matt. What are you and Doc up to?
Hey, he wants someone to talk to, so he picked me. And you.
Fine. I'm a good listener. Lots of practice.
Nice. You like Jameson's, don't you, Kitty?
Sure, Doc. What are we celebrating?
Let's see here. We'll drink to a fella that you don't know. Cain Vestal.
Well, here's to him.
Yeah?
Here's to him. Yes, he'll be dead in a couple of months.
What?
That's what I told him.
What do you mean, Doc?
Well, I'm not the only one who's told him that. I'm just the last.
Well, who is this Cain Vestal, Doc?
Oh, he's just a fella. Came in on the train last night, leaving for Arizona tomorrow.
Huh?
That's where he's going to die, in Arizona. He's a musician. He plays the guitar, he tells me.
Well, how's he going to die?
Consumption. He's got it bad. I'm the last doctor who's going to ask about it, he says.
Poor fella.
Yes, climate out there, keep him going for a little while longer. Oh, I don't know. He's such a sad man for some reason.
Well, who wouldn't be, Doc?
No, Kitty. I think Cain's been sad for a long, long time. He's a very nice fellow, too.
Nothing can help him, huh?
No, nothing.
You know, it's a funny thing, Doc. I'm just sitting here thinking. Sometimes you have to tell men they're going to die. Sometimes I have to.
Yeah, that's right, man. Oh, say, there he is. See that fellow with the car there? He just came in.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think he knows anyone around here. You mind if I ask him over?
Well, sure. Your party, Doc.
Oh, good. Cain? Cain? Over here? Yeah. Sit down. Sit down. Cain, this is Kitty.
Hello,
Miss
Cain.
Kitty.
This is Marshal Dillon.
Hello, Marshal.
Pleasure to meet you.
Just a minute, yeah. There we are. Have a drink.
Well, thank you, Doc.
This your first trip west, Cain?
Yes, Marshal, it is.
Well, where are you from?
Why, no place in particular, Miss Kitty. I seem to spend most of my life on the Mississippi River.
I thought you were a musician.
I am. I was hired to ride the river boats and play my guitar for the passengers.
Oh.
Well, at least you've had a constant change of scenery.
After 20 years of going up and down that river, it got pretty familiar, Marshal.
Well, Cain, I knew a young fellow back in St. Louis before the war, and he was learning to be a river pilot. Say, I wonder if you ever ran into him. Name of Clemens, Sam Clevens?
No, Doc, I don't believe I did.
Oh, he was a very amusing fella. He was just chock full of stories.
You leaving Dodge tomorrow, Cain?
I'm headed for Arizona, Miss Kitty. No reflection on Dodge, though.
If you hit a place out there called Tombstone, I wish you'd look up Virgil Earp for me. Tell him I sent you, huh?
Thanks, Marshal. I'll do that.
Say, Cain, I wonder, could I ask you a favor?
Why, certainly, Miss Kitty. Anything at all.
Well, would you play something for us?
I had an idea that's what it'd be. Anything in particular?
Oh, play something you like, Cain.
Another girl I knew used to like this one.
Nice.
Sure,
Pretty.
Fine,
that
Kate,
was
just
a
fine.
That was
Thank you, Miss Kitty.
I wish you were going to stay here a while. Maybe you could teach me to play like that, huh?
It'd be a pleasure, Miss Kitty. But I'm afraid I won't be around for long.
Morning, Mr. Dillon.
It's, noon, Chester.
Yes, sir, I know, but you went off with Doc yesterday, so I figured I had a little time coming today.
Well, that depends on how you spent it. Now, if you've been gambling,
Now, Mr. Dillon, you know I never gamble. No, sirree. I was out helping a fellow learn to shoot a 6-gun, that's all.
Now? You mean there's a man in Dodge who doesn't know how?
This fellow don't. Never had one in his hand before. He's a musician.
What?
Plays the guitar, he told me.
You mean Cain? Cain Vestal?
Yes, sir, that's his name. Nice a fellow as you'd ever want to meet.
Yeah. But he was supposed to leave on the stage this morning. And what's he done with his 6-gun anyway?
Well, I don't know, Mr. Dillon. He just come by here early this morning and asked me if I'd teach him.
Yeah. Now, where'd he get the gun?
Said he just bought it. Anything wrong, Mr. Dillon?
No. It just doesn't add up somehow, that's all.
Oh, well, he won't cause any trouble. He's not the sort.
You never know, Chester.
No, sir. And my Kitty looks pretty this morning. She's got a yellow parasol, Mr. Dillon.
Kitty? Oh, I think I'll go see her for a minute. I'll be right back, Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Kitty?
Hello, Matt.
Kitty, I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Well, sure. What is it?
I'm curious about something, Kitty. Maybe you can help me.
Maybe.
How long was Cain Vestal with you yesterday?
Cain. Oh, well, he didn't leave till evening. Why?
Well, he didn't go out on the stage this morning, and he's bought himself a 6-gun. You any idea why?
A gun?
Huh?
Doesn't sound like Cain.
Anything happened yesterday, Kitty, or did he tell you anything?
Oh, yeah. There was one thing, Matt. Joel Adams and a couple of his men came in.
Yeah?
Cain got pretty upset when he saw him had a bad coughing spell.
Oh?
Later, he asked a lot of questions about Adams.
Well, what'd you tell him?
Just that Adams is a big landowner around here, that nobody who isn't working for him likes him very much. That's all I know, anyway.
Yeah. They didn't talk, Adams and Cain.
No. I don't think they even know each other.
Well, anyway, he sure isn't the sort to be packing a gun.
Well, you'll just get into trouble, Matt.
Yeah. Where's he staying, did he say?
Dodge House, I think.
Yeah. Thanks, Kitty. I'll see you later.
Come in.
Hello, Cain.
Why, Marshal Dillon. Come in, come in.
Thank you.
What can I do for you, Marshal?
I thought you were leaving Dodge on the stage this morning.
Well, I was, Marshal, but I changed my mind. You know how it is.
Sure, Cain, sure. Now, we're glad to have you around. I'm just curious, though. Your staying have anything to do with that gun you bought this morning?
Oh, Chester told you. I thought he would. He's a good teacher, Marshal.
Yeah. But that doesn't answer my question.
Do I have to answer it?
I'm just trying to help you, that's all.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Marshal, but I'm afraid there's nothing you can do.
Look, Cain, you're new in this country. A man like you just can't pick up a 6-gun and call himself a fighting man. Not and expect to live through it.
I certainly lay no claim to be a fighting man.
Then why did you buy that gun?
There's no law out here against a man having a gun, is there, Marshal?
No, but any man who carries one is expected to use it when the time comes. You'd be a lot safer without one.
Being safe doesn't mean a whole lot to me, Marshal. Not now.
Yeah, I know. Doc told me. What's it all about?
It's a long story. And an old one, I suppose. I'd really rather not talk about it.
I can't force you to. But tell me this. Does it have anything to do with Joel Adams?
Yes, it does, Marshal. I'm going to kill him.
When?
I don't know. Anytime.
Well, why?
That's the long story I mentioned.
All right, Cain. But if you try to face him, he'll kill you before you got that gun halfway out of your belt. And if you shoot him any other way, you'll hang for it.
You've forgotten something, Marshal.
What?
No matter what I do, I'm going to die soon anyway. A month or two isn't going to make any difference.
You hate Adams that much?
I wouldn't kill a man I didn't hate, would I?
I didn't think you were the sort of man who'd kill anyone.
Only Joel Adams, Marshal.
Then I gotta warn him about you.
Well, I understand, Marshal. It's all right. He doesn't know me anyway. Never even saw me before.
But you want to kill him?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll take your gun away from you, but you'll just find another one. And I can't arrest you unless I catch you trying to bushwhack him.
I'm sorry for the trouble I'm causing you, Marshal.
You know, I've never had to deal with a man like you before, Cain. Maybe I ought to just tie you up and throw you on that stage.
You could. But I'd just come right back.
Yeah, I guess you would.
I'm sorry this has to happen here in Dodge, Marshal.
Then why don't you leave?
I guess I hate Joel Adams too much.
All right, Cain, I'm through trying to convince you. So long.
Goodbye, Marshal.
Cain Vestal, Marshal. I never saw him before last night.
You must have known him somewhere, Adams.
You're trying to make me out a liar, Marshal.
I'm trying to save Cain's life and yours, maybe.
Oh, he ain't gonna shoot me. I'll kill him first time he looks sidewise.
Maybe you won't see him.
Oh, shoot me in the back, eh? Well, in that case...
In that case, what?
Why, nothing, Dillon, nothing. Forget it.
If Cain's shot in the back, you'll be the first man I take in, Adams.
I don't even know him. Why should I shoot him?
I'm only warning you.
Well, just leave me be, Marshal. I can take care of myself.
See that you do, Adams, and only yourself.
Why, sure, Marshal. Only I don't much like the idea of some stranger gunning for me. Makes me sort of uneasy.
There must be some reason for it.
Don't start it again, Marshal. Ain't no reason.
I know. You've led a blameless life. You never hurt anyone.
I've told you twice.
There are men around here who'd shoot you on sight if they thought they could get by with it. I don't think you were ever any good, Adams, so don't tell me Cain's got no reason. I don't believe it.
You're pushing me now,
I'm
Marshal.
tired of your talk, that's all. Maybe it's true you don't know him, but he sure knows something about you.
Well, then he'll wish you didn't. That's all I got to say.
Well, just keep out of his way. Give it a little time, and maybe there won't be any killing at all.
Why, sure. All the time in the world.
All right, Adams. I've done all I can.
Just don't worry about me.
I'm not.
Then goodbye, Marshal.
Goodbye.
We will return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, back tomorrow night. Pull up your chair, or better still, roll back your rug. It's the Vaughn Monroe Show returning to the Star's address. Listen for Vaughn, the Moon Maids, the Moon Men, and their wonderful way with popular music and songs. Once again at their old familiar Saturday night time on CBS Radio. Remember, they're coming back tomorrow night. You and the whole family are invited to this season's scintillating premiere of The Vaughn Monroe Show on most of these same stations. Now, the second act of Gunsmoke.
Sure is quiet around town tonight, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah. There's a trail herd due in a couple of days. I suppose business will pick up then.
You'd think those cowboys be too tuckered out after a ride like that to have any juice left in them at all, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, they're too poor to cut loose any other time.
Well, that don't stop them down in Texas, Mr. Dillon.
No?
No. It's just like an uncle of mine back in Waco. He was poor, oh, he was mean poor. But he always said the only good money was to have fun with.
Oh, did he have fun?
But no, sir. He was too poor, like I said.
All right, Chester, all right. All I ask is that you don't try to explain it to me.
Well, but there's nothing to explain, Mr. Dillon. It's just that he was the one poorest
Chester.
man you'd ever...
Marshal, say, you want to talk to Cain Vestal?
What?
Cain is upstairs in my office.
He been shot?
No, not shot. Beat up.
Well, how is he, Doc?
Well, it's not too bad. A couple of cowboys found him just outside of town. They heard a shot and said 2 men rode off before they could stop them.
Yeah?
And I guess whoever it was, they didn't have time to finish the job. They just got started working on him.
So Adams made the first move, huh? I'll be back soon, Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
They hit him on the head with a gun butt and scratched him up some. Outside of that, he's fine.
It's still assault, even if they didn't kill him, Doc.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Anyway, they took a shot at him when they heard those riders coming along. Went right through his coat.
Yeah. They probably think he's dead.
So that's where you went, Doc. I might have known.
Didn't even give you a chance to use that gun, did he, Cain?
I didn't have a gun on me, Marshal, but it wasn't he. It was they.
Huh? Did you recognize them?
Well, I don't know many people around here.
You know Joel Adams, so you told me.
It wasn't Adam.
Could you pick him out if you saw him again?
No, Marshal, I don't believe I could.
Where were you when they grabbed you, Cain?
End of Front Street. I was taking a walk after supper. They rode up behind me, one on each side, lifted me up, and carried me out of town a ways.
You must have got a good look at them, at least when they got off their horses.
It was too dark, Marshal.
Yeah. Doc, how long's he been here?
Oh, about half an hour, Marshal. Why?
Those cowboys who saw you, Cain, they brought you right in here, didn't they?
Yes.
So it was maybe an hour ago when those 2 men hauled you out of town? It was plenty light enough then.
Was it, Marshal?
You're gonna fight it yourself, aren't you?
Yes, Marshal. It's my affair.
It was, Cain, but you've been assaulted and shot at, so it's the law's business now.
I won't prefer any charges, Marshal.
You don't have to. I've seen you, and I know who did it, or who hired it done, as well as you do.
Please, Marshal. I got to handle this my own way.
There's a law that says you can't murder a man, Cain, and the same law says he can't murder you. Are you so full of hate you can't get that through your head?
I guess that's it, Marshal.
All right, Cain. You do what you have to do. So will I. Hello, Adams. I've been looking for you.
That's late, Dillon. Can't you see me tomorrow?
It's not even midnight. That's early for you.
You see how this marshal's always trying to get me on the prod, boys?
That's right.
These boys of yours play pretty rough themselves, Adams.
Meaning?
Didn't they tell you?
Tell me what?
What they did to Cain Vestal?
They did not kill Cain Vestal, and you can't prove it.
No, Adams, I can't. Cain isn't even dead.
What?
You know, I'm curious, Adams. Why'd you think he might be?
Why, somebody said he got himself hurt.
Joel Adams.
You arranged this, Marshal.
You know I didn't.
Who is he? What does he want?
Hello, Joel Adams. Don't strain yourself so you don't know me.
Who are you?
Cain Vestal. But my name doesn't matter.
What are you haunting me for? I never saw you before in my life.
That's true. You didn't. But we had a friend in common once.
A friend? Who?
Julie Travis.
What about Julie?
You were a riverboat gambler then, Adams, and you had money and fine clothes and a way with women, especially young girls. Julie was only 16 at the time.
Never mind all that.
So she went away with you to be married, you told her.
Oh. I think I guessed the rest. You wanted to marry her, but I got her instead. Is that it?
That's it, Adams. That's exactly it.
Oh, now I thought you really had something on your mind, Vestal. Well, all right, why don't you get out of here and quit bothering people while you can still walk?
Julie killed herself, Adams. She committed suicide.
What?
You didn't know that, did you?
Well, it's got nothing to do with me.
Because you never married her after all. It was just a year after you abandoned her in New Orleans. I think it has a lot to do with you, Joel Adams.
What are your plans, mister? I see you got a gun in your belt.
Gonna kill you.
Oh, so? When?
Now. Right now.
All right, Vestal, draw.
Leave the gun where it is, Cain.
One thing I always promised myself, Adams. Someday I'd spit in your face.
Why, you...
Give me the gun, Adams.
Where?
He's dead.
Well, he was going to kill me. You heard him.
He wanted you dead, Adams, any way he could manage.
I know it. That's what I say.
You're under arrest for murder.
For... What? It was a gunfight.
Cain never even moved for his gun.
Well, then I'll hang for this. He couldn't have got me any other way.
No, don't suppose he could have.
I remember the river gamblers used to say, don't matter how you win so long as you win. That Cain should have been a gambler.
Maybe he was. Come on, let's go.
Gunsmoke, transcribed under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was especially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Harry Bartell with Georgia Ellis and Larry Dobkin. Parley Bayer is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc. Clancy Cassell speaking. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Both back this Sunday night. Edgar Bergen and Company and Eve Arden is our Miss Brooks. Yes, it's the Bergen and McCarthy Show with Mortimer Snerd, Podine Puffington, Effie Clinker, Ray Noble's Orchestra, and guest stars. Back Sunday nights at the Star's Address starting this weekend. Returning the same night is our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden as an English teacher ever seeking her special degree in romance. For comedy galore, enjoy Bergen and McCarthy and Our Miss Brooks on most of these same stations. Back this Sunday night, presented by CBS Radio.
This is Amos, but my real name is Freeman Gosden. I urge you to vote. And as Amos would say, follow the election returns on the CBS Radio Network.